Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Tammy, and today we're going to talk about homeschooling in Jamaica, how to get started, what you need, and where to go. Now, my journey with homeschooling is pretty new. I just started this year. But before we get into it, I want to quickly just talk about the difference between homeschooling and virtual learning. So since the start of the pandemic, a lot of schools worldwide even have made the decision to transition their students to learning from home, learning from their devices through Zoom, Google Classroom, different various tools or mediums. Now, the virtual education or virtual learning comprises of the student's teacher from the school. It's the same formal education with a teacher in the classroom and everything. However, it is just not in physical attendance. It's from a device. Homeschooling, on the other hand, is where the child is removed from or not placed into the formal government education system and is taught at home with whatever curriculum that is chosen by the parent. Now, Jamaica has always had the option of homeschooling, virtual learning, like online school, that came about through COVID. But where it regards homeschooling, there has always been that ability in the law with the Ministry of Education where you can choose to homeschool your children. So I've taken advantage of this, and this is my story, my journey. So I have two sons. They are 6 and 9, so that would be grade 1 and grade 4. They've always been in the regular school system. But I have always had the thought or the idea of having them homeschooled. It's always something that I've thought about, but I've never had that opportunity. Now, with COVID, I realized that I had no choice but to be home for a while, and then with them doing online school, I had to be home. So I realized where there were shortcomings in, especially my older son, there were shortcomings in a lot of things that were happening with the school. He was placed even at a different school, and before COVID, I still was finding that there were huge gaps. I really wanted the best for him, and so when I realized that I had that opportunity to be home and I had transitioned my career to being something that I could do from virtually anywhere, virtual, I decided to start looking into homeschooling. I couldn't find much information about homeschooling in Jamaica, to be honest. I found the Homeschool Association of Jamaica. I tried to reach out to them. I didn't really get any response. I saw their number on an interview that they did, so I'm gonna see if I can call someone there. Apart from that, there have been some videos, but none that are relating to what exactly I'm looking for. My children are older. I'm looking for something. Most of the videos I'm seeing is for kids who are like 2-year-old, 3-year-old, like toddler training, toddler education. And I wanted to know what other people had experienced, how they got the process started. I couldn't find that anywhere, how to get it started. And so here I am bringing it to you. I hope that you find it valuable information if it is that you're thinking of homeschooling, or if you want to get started with this. So the first thing that you need to know is that the homeschooling is governed by a different arm of the Ministry of Education, and they're called the Independent Schools Unit, or the ISU. So the ISU doesn't just have the application form waiting there for you. What you would do, you would contact them. I will link the information on the ministry's website that has the ISU address and contact information and email address. So what I did to get started, I actually got that same information. I called the number. Someone there at the head office in Kingston answered, and I explained to her that I was thinking of homeschooling my children. She did, I would say it's kind of like a mock phone interview, because I was asking her questions like, what are the chances of me not being approved? Because you have to be approved. You can't just say to them, hey, I want to homeschool my child, and they say, okay, there you go. No, you would have to, that's the process basically, to start the process with the ISU, get the application done, and have it approved. So I told her my qualifications, because that's a part of the requirement that you need. And she said, with my educational qualifications, then there shouldn't be an issue with me starting. So let's dive right into the requirements and what you need. For the ISU, the first thing they'll do after you talk to them, they'll send you an email with the application form, and also it will have like a list of things that you will need, your requirements. So you'll need your ID and TRN, of course, to prove that you are the child's parent, you are the one approving this. You will need the qualifications I mentioned before. No, you don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to be any form of education professional. Is that it, or educational professional? Yeah, education professional. And so what they require is that the child, whatever child that you're teaching or that you'll be tutoring, you need to have at least 2 levels of education higher than them. So if the child is in primary school, then you must have had to complete primary school, high school, and even tertiary. So for me, I'm a practical nurse, so I have that certification. And I have recently become a life coach, so I have that certification as well. So those 2 things had put me above that tertiary level education. And so apart from the qualifications, you're going to need, as I mentioned before, your ID and TRN. You're going to need birth certificate for the child or children. One thing to note is that if you are doing multiple children, you need to do the steps separately. So basically, you're gonna need the same documents for each child. So don't think it's one file for the household or for the homeschool home. No, it's an individual child for each. It's an individual file, for each child. And so if you have 3-4 children, please do these documents separately. Have them signed separately. Everything needs to be signed by a JP or a minister of religion, like a marriage officer, a lawyer. There on the application form, it shows you all the people who can sign it. So have these done separately. Also important to note, there is a maximum of 6 children to any homeschool unit. So you can't tutor more than 6 children under the same one homeschool umbrella. So the application form, as I mentioned, will come along with the list of requirements that you need. I mentioned a few of them here, but of course feel free to email them when I put the information right down below, and they will send you the full list and ensure that you don't get lost. What I want to add, the ISU so far has been extremely helpful with my process. You know, we here in Jamaica, we kind of shy away from government led organizations because they usually seem underpaid and miserable, to be frank. And that was not my experience here with the ISU. From start to finish, from the first phone call, from how they sent me all the information. Then I told them I wasn't in Kingston, I was in Hanover. Or, you know, I could frequent Montego Bay, so I wouldn't be able to go to Kingston and drop off the documents. So what they did was assigned me or partnered me with someone from the ministry office down here, so an education officer. And she called me, she went over the list of things that I would need with me. She ensured that I had them. She did a whole checklist with me. She told me when I could come meet her with them. I went to the office. I got all the documents. I got them signed and everything. The most hassling part for me was to find a justice of the peace, a JP, to get the documents signed. And if you've ever opened a bank account or anything official in Jamaica, you know that you need a JP for almost anything, and they're kind of scarce. So that was the hardest part. Otherwise, I was guided along the way very well by the education officer from Region 4. I'm not gonna say your name, but she was very helpful. She was very awesome. So yeah, to sum it all up, we have the list of requirements that you will need. You have the application form, and so you'll be on your way to start getting together those things. Now, some of the things that are on the application form that you will need and need to have prepared is a curriculum. So you have the option of using the government's NST curriculum, which I opted to do. I'm most likely going to change that in the future, and we'll get to that sometime later. But you will have to, if you're not planning to use your curriculum, you have to submit a curriculum for it to be approved. No, there are a lot of places in the world that you just need to send a letter of intent to their government to say that you're going to homeschool your child, whereas there are other places that the rules are more strict. Jamaica, I don't think our rules are so strict or too strict. It's just that they want to ensure that you have that mental fortitude, that foundation that can guide a child to not become, you know what, a criminal or some form of leech on society, that you can guide and train up a child well. So getting the process started, it's not hard. If you see me looking down, I made some notes so I wouldn't stray past the topic. So yeah, the information will be listed below, so you can just click on the link and it will take you to the Ministry of Education website where you can see the ISU's information. Where I got the curriculum, I'm using NSC as I mentioned, but you have to have the curriculum so you can follow through and know what expectations to set over the next 12 months for your child, because that's something that you will be asked. So the curriculum is also on the government's website, the ministry's website, which as I mentioned will be linked below. If you don't feel as if you are able to be the tutor for your child, you don't feel like you're prepared and you want to teach, but you want to homeschool, or if it is that you're busy, you have to work, but you really do want to take your child from the formal education system for whatever reason. It could be learning disabilities, they could have ADHD or some attention deficiency issues that you want them to be able to get some more focus. You could just have a personal family preference that you want them to be homeschooled. So if you don't feel like you can be the one to tutor them, you can have someone tutor your child. You can hire a private teacher to do that, but please bear in mind that at the start of your process when you're applying for homeschooling, you would have to specify that you're using a tutor, and you will also need to submit the qualifications of the tutor along with your documents in order for them to be approved. So I have alright, so after you have submitted all those information that the requirements, after you've completed it and you drop it off or submit it to the ministry's office, you then wait for your letter in the mail. So you first get a letter that says that everything is deemed satisfactory and they have reviewed it and they don't have any concerns or qualms to you homeschooling your child. It also tells you that you need to get some documents. Let me show you. So you have to have a school portfolio, a logbook, an attendance register, and a marks record. You will need to have these things ready for a virtual interview with an education officer. That education officer will need to see the area that you have set up for homeschooling, see the resources that you're planning to use. They want to see the space, make sure that you have somewhere designated for your child's learning, and also somewhere that is comfortable for them to learn in. The virtual interview, it took like an hour and a half basically, and it ran up a bit long. They will want to talk to your child or your children just to touch base with them a couple seconds, just to make sure that this is what they want as well. They understand what's going on, they're comfortable. Something that the ministry is very keen on ensuring that you do is to ensure that your child has social interaction. So you will have to think about that to say how your child will be able to play around with other kids his or her age, interact with different people, both adults and children. For me, I have field trips planned for my boys. We have play dates with other children. We have birthday parties. We have different events scheduled and planned out to ensure that we have that level of social interaction. At the virtual interview, something touched my heart where the education officer asked both my sons, so do you guys want to be homeschooled? I said, yes. And she said, you don't miss your friends at school? Kinda. And then she said, so you don't want to go back to school? No. And the education officer was like, but mommy's gonna teach you. Most people wouldn't like that. And my older son was like, well, we do. And I was like, okay. So that made me very happy. If you want to see more of my homeschooling journey, if you want to know what I've done to add to the curriculum and to make it even more stimulating, because it can be quite boring, to my children, just click on the subscribe button so that you can be notified of my next videos. Please remember to hit that bell because you don't want to miss out on my next video where I'll share the things that I've added to the curriculum, the different free resources that I've been able to capitalize on, some paid as well, that have been able to stimulate my son's growth and learning. And now they're so excited for school, they're so excited for learning, and I am super, super happy. If this video was of any help to you, if you learned anything or it gave you any value, please click on that like button. Feel free to leave a comment in the description, and I will definitely get back to you if you ask me a question or if you have something that you specifically want to know about homeschooling in Jamaica or the process. If you want to get to me one-on-one, you can reach me on Instagram at @TamikaCarol. DM me and I'll be sure to respond. Until next time, guys, thanks for joining, thanks for staying, thanks for watching. Bye.